Alright, diatonic chords. Now, this is actually just diatonic chords level 2 at the moment. So, diatonic chords, what do we mean by diatonic chords? Let's have a quick look. Over here under harmony, diatonic chords. Diatonic chords basically are chord shapes and structures that occur naturally within a diatonic or harmonic context, i.e. key centers. In other words, they are the chords that are built on each note of a scale by creating these consecutive thirds or traffic lights above each note of the scale. Okay, so here's an example in C major. Yeah, so it creates these chords: the C major, D minor or chord 2, E minor or chord 3, F major or chord 4, G major or chord 5, A minor, which is chord 6, B diminished, which is chord 7, and then back to chord 1, which is the C major chord again. All right. This is a little bit of a strange diagram, but basically what it's saying is that because the major scale is built on a pattern, the tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone pattern, every major key will have the same pattern of either major or minor chords based on whatever scale degree you're looking at. So in other words, on the first note of any major scale, it will be called chord 1 in Roman numerals, and it's a major chord. Chord 4 is also major. Chord 5 is also major, and back to chord 8 or chord 1 is also major. Chord 2, 3, and 6 are all minor triads, and chord 7 will always be a diminished triad. So that's for every major scale or major key that you're looking at. Now, 3 of the very important triads out of those 8 triads are what we call the primary triads, the ones built on chord 1, chord 4, and chord 5. The reason why they're so important is because they can harmonize. Primary triads form the harmonic basis of many compositions from nursery rhymes to symphonies. Just those 3 chords can harmonize any note in the scale. And I'll show you that by looking at this. So C in the key, this is in the key of C major. So C is the first note. It could be harmonized here as chord 1 or the top note of chord 4. D is the top note of chord 5. E, so I'm going up one note of the scale at a time. E is the middle note of chord 1. F is the bottom note of chord 4. G is either the top note of chord 1 or the bottom note of chord 5. A is the middle note of chord 4. B is the middle note of chord 5. And that's it. I've done all the notes then. So here's an example, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star or Baa Baa Black Sheep. And what chords you could use with it, okay? So melody. Right, so those chords all fit the melody that's being played. If you pick the right note that corresponds with the right chord, it'll all just make, beautiful harmonic sense. All right. So once again, this is just summarizing those chords for the major scale. This is the same thing if we then add the 7th. Okay, so we get a major 7th, 2 minor 7ths, a major 7th, a thing called a dominant 7th. So on the dominant chord, we call it a dominant 7th. Another minor 7, a special kind of chord called a minor 7 flat 5, sometimes also called half diminished 7th chord, and then another major 7th. Then when we start looking into the minor harmonic structure, it gets a little bit complicated because it depends on which minor scale we're looking at. This is the harmonic minor scale, in which the 7th note is often raised a semitone, and there it is there again in chord 5, and there it is there again in chord 3, which will create two minor triad, minor triad, diminished triad, an augmented triad, minor triad, a major triad, a diminished triad, and a minor triad. Then if we look on, there's chords 1, 4, and 5 in the harmonic minor scale. Notice that chords 1 and 4 are both minor, but chord 5, because of our raised 7th, is actually a major triad. And then once again in the next little bit, it becomes maybe even a little bit more complicated. So it's looking at the difference between the natural minor, the harmonic minor, and the melodic minor scales. And that creates little variations throughout all of this. Notice that, say, chord 1 is still the same, chord 2 varies, chord 3 varies, chord 4 varies, chord 5 varies, chord 6 has a variation, chord 7 has a variation, but chord 1 is, the same. Okay, so every single chord has some sort of variation depending on if you're looking at the natural minor, harmonic minor, or melodic minor. And that just depends on which ones you want to use in the key that you're in. But anyway, let's exit all of this and we'll have a look at what we're actually going to be looking at. So diatonic chords level 2. You have to click in the tonic root position chords in major and minor keys up to 2 sharps and 2 flats on the treble or the bass clef. Okay, so click in the tonic chord root position in the key of G minor. Okay, G minor, so the key signature is given there. The bottom note's given, and you just need to click in traffic lights like that. Wow, really hard. The tonic chord in E minor. Click in traffic lights. In F major, the tonic triad. Click in some traffic lights. In C major, the tonic triad. Click in traffic lights. And this is it. This is as hard as it gets for level 2. Okay, so you're just going to click in some traffic lights like this for every single one of them. You won't need to choose sharps or flats or anything. You will just need to click in traffic lights on every single one of these. All right, so that is really easy.